Okay. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Conversations with Laura Gleason and myself, Kristen Wilson. We're excited to talk about the topic today, which is in our shift book, Shift Tactic 6.
Number 6. Yep.
Web and internet lead generation. And Laura is going to start us out.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the chapter's titled Catch People in Your Web, Internet Lead Conversion. And you know, this book, Kristen, was written in 2009. A lot of things have happened in the last 14 years around what we do with the internet.
Yes.
And it's become more and more and more important in our real estate businesses. Excuse me. And I just want to read actually the very last paragraph of this chapter. Says, no matter the market, you must have some presence on the internet. That's no longer a question or an option. Using the power of the internet to communicate with clients, share information about your services, and validate your standing as a professional real estate agent is critical to your business. Technology and the internet are no longer a choice. The question is, do you move from simply communicating to effectively lead generating? Excuse me. And they said that back in 2009. And it's so interesting that they felt they really had to emphasize that back then, because we were just getting started with the internet. It was just becoming a part of our businesses. And this book was written during the last major shift in real estate. And now we're in another shift. And most people, most real estate agents, especially those who have been in the business for less than 14 years, which is the vast majority of real estate agents that are currently practicing today, have always had internet lead generation as part of their business in some form or fashion. So the relevance of this chapter for everybody who reads the book or hasn't read it in a while, it's really important to go back and read this chapter and really think about what you're doing around your internet lead generation and your internet lead conversion. Where the chapter really just talks about websites, because that was kind of the big thing back then, right? That hasn't become less important whatsoever. In fact, your website is actually your resume online. You know, people are vetting you, they're checking you out. And where do they go? Where do we go to vet people?
Online.
We go online, we search them, we type their name in, and we look for LinkedIn, we look for whatever their profiles are online to see if a person's legitimate, right? And so the website's a big, huge part of that. So the part that you want to think about with your website is, if you're taking a second look around a shifting market, and is my website generating more traffic for me? That's a great question to ask. Does your website help you in your business? Besides it being your online resume, do you have call to actions on your website? Do you have what we call MOFRs, which stands for MOFR, M-O-F-I-R, make offer for immediate response, and otherwise a click action? Do you have parts in your website that are clickable that take people somewhere further into your website? Are you using artificial intelligence with your website? I know if you're with Keller Williams, you are, because we have AI integrated with our website, as well as IDX, meaning that your clients can actually search from your website, and they can search for any property anywhere in the United States. One of the things I would say about websites, which gets back to one of my favorite parts about Keller Williams, is we have this term R and D, the letter R and the letter D, R&D, which usually stands for research and development. And we affectionately call it rip off and duplicate at KW. Why do I bring that up with websites? Because I'll tell you this, the top agents have the best websites. So go check out who's the best agents in your area and go check out their websites, because they have definitely integrated their websites. They have MOFRs, they have call to action, they have ways where buyers can go in deeper and sellers can go in deeper, and they're offering opportunities to interact. And they're also offering a lot of information about the community. So check out those websites and you're going to get some great ideas. That's a thing I would say about websites. And then I want to go on in when we talk about capture people in your web, internet lead conversion, which is this chapter. I really want to spend time talking about social media, because that's where things have really changed over the last 14 years. We use social media heavily in our businesses, heavily to stay in touch with people. And so what I see, and when I teach on these types of skills, what I see is that social media is used two different ways. It's used for connecting and cultivating or following up, staying in touch with people. Most real estate agents use it that way, right? They're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok is really fun now. There's lots of fun agent things on TikTok. So most people are using it to stay in touch with their people. And it may just stop there. And then yet other real estate agents are using it for actual lead generation. So if you're using it for connecting and cultivating, you may get some leads from it because you're staying active, you're staying in touch with people, you may be even asking for referrals and that sort of thing. And so you may get some business from your social media. And yet there are other real estate agents that actually make it a part of their lead generation plan. They're actually either buying leads online or they're doing Facebook ads to generate leads or some other sort of lead generation in social media. And so if you're doing that in your business and you're making that part of your lead generation strategies and tactics, are you doing it at the highest level possible? Are you learning how to get a better click rate? Do you have MOFers? Do you have calls to action in your lead generation? Are you making it relevant to buyers or are you making it relevant to sellers? Those are all really good questions to ask to make sure that you're doing this at the highest level possible, that's what we're talking about in our podcast that we're doing every week is leadership conversations and really taking your business to the highest level possible. So that when I think about this chapter and I look at it, I think, gosh, it's actually even more relevant today than it was 14 years ago.
Absolutely. I feel like there was such a, it was gradually then suddenly how the consumer behaviors changed. And I do see, and the reports show that because of the pandemic and COVID, it sped up the process of consumer behaviors with making decisions on purchases, on services, on who they would work with or what they would buy through social media.
Yes.
And so when I reread this chapter and it was talking historically consumer behaviors, and we have a whole different history now. And services are offered through social media and
right.
consumers feel a level of confidence specifically because they're validated by the people they already know. They're
right. Yeah.
Right. So it's not only is it just about having a presence, it's about having an active, engaged presence. I think what you said is very important to think about the connection and the lead capture strategies. And I believe that both are essential. Your lead capture strategies will be at a higher level when your connections and your engagement is also at a regular pace. It's consistent. So that gives you more presence and that's helpful for organic offers, right? Now, of course, we have paid offers, which is a whole different conversation. However, if you're looking for it, we have the playbook for it, a literal playbook written by the top thinkers in the industry in tech to make a shortcut for you to make it simple and cost effective. And one of the things that you said is, how do we know? How do we know that we're doing it at the highest level? How would you know? One, there's analytics. So whichever route you're choosing online, capture some analytics for yourself, website engagements, social media engagements, make a screenshot of that, and then set a goal for it to get better and better, i.e. hold those actions that you're doing accountable for some results. When you're seeing growth in those results area, you'll know you're doing it at a higher level. The next thing I wanted to talk about was how we can ask ourselves some questions about our presence. So here's a few questions that may help you. wherever you're present on the internet, both web and your social media, if someone should Google you and find you there, can they set an appointment? 2, can they respond to offers or services? 3, can they request some tools? So when those key things and those elements are present, you have the opportunity to capture them.
Yeah.
And I'll just say personally, as someone who has made appointments through Instagram, if I had to leave the app itself to go get different information, to find them, then call them, then look them up, I may have put it off, decided to do it later, not done the actual action of it. But because it was a click through, set an appointment, get on their calendar, it made it so easy.
Yeah.
There it was on that appointment. So thinking through the easy button steps that you could create. And I want to talk about as well the leads in general. Laura, you probably hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Not a good lead. Not a good lead. Yeah.
When in reality, every market has a certain number of buyers and sellers that are going to work in any market, regardless of the market.
Right.
So, and the reality is, because of all the opportunity to be in technology right now, those people clicking on your Facebook ad or your website ad, they're likely registered in 4 or 5
other people. Yeah. They're clicking everyone's. Yeah.
So the system, as you mentioned, having that system, and it talks about this in the book, having that system for your capture and the funnel and the next steps and the value and the follow-up and the engagement, that's the magic sauce to taking just a name into prospect, and prospect to appointment, appointment to business.
Right.
What I love that this book shares over and over again is it's time to reevaluate. Reevaluate your systems, your strategies, and what you want to hold it accountable to. And maybe there's some adjustments to be made.
Yeah.
All right.
And in shifting markets, it's not that it's a bad lead. It may just not be a not yet lead. And then in shifting market, you're trying to capture as many leads as possible, because some of them are right now leads, but the majority of them might be later leads. They're a not yet lead.
Yeah,
that's why that follow-up and cultivation is so important.
100%. There's a National Association of Realtors stat that says that the average nurture period for an internet lead is 18 months.
And I think I'm in the business for longer than 18 months. How about you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what if it comes back to skill? So ask yourself that question too. If you're seeing a gap in your results, what's the skill that you can work on mastering that will improve that? Maybe it's, as we talked about weeks prior to this, setting appointment skill. Or maybe it's just the skill of your system, right? Getting the system in place that creates that additional layer and value and engagement that leads to the appointment and to the business. So, I think this is a great chapter to dive into. And as well, we have resources for you in the way of playbooks, right? To create buttons so that you don't have to think of all the steps yourself that we're and ready to share. If you haven't received them yet, please let us know.
Yeah, we can get them to you. Right.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.